Roman. I play for Altiora, which is the winner of the Canadian division. Yeah, I mean, we qualified for invite. So yeah, that's who we are.
You guys qualifying for the Six Invitational was actually one of the biggest stories, I think, of SI this year. But for you personally, what was kind of the most important thing about it? Was it the fact that you'd gone through this whole process and earned it yourself? Was it about representing Canada, which is a region that hasn't really been represented in its own right at SI? What part of it was the most important for you?
I mean, this is gonna sound pretty selfish, but personally, for me, it was the fact that I had been to every single SI beforehand, like starting from 2017, and I really didn't want to miss out on one. So we had to qualify, or else I was gonna miss an SI, and that just wasn't gonna happen. So that was my motivation. But I feel like as a team, like our motivation was just to represent Canada, because a lot of people kind of slept on Canada. I mean, nobody thought we were going to do anything at all. Or any Canadian team was going to do anything at all for that matter. So we kind of just want to go prove everybody wrong.
Well, in stage one, you guys were out in the losers final, and then you came all the way to the end of the Canada division, winning the whole thing. How do you think you guys grew and developed in that time? What do you think was specific to you guys? And not only that, but how did the competition also grow and develop? Because I'd imagine it wasn't quite as simple as you guys getting good and everyone else staying behind. So, like, what was that from your perspective?
It was definitely like really weird because I mean, for the most part, it was a lot of roster changes that were made onto the team. I mean, Spirits was the only player that still was with like the original qualifying roster, like that still played. So like in the second split, I wasn't able to play the first like 2 games because I wasn't 18 at the time. So and then afterwards, I was able to play the very last game, which didn't really mean much. It was just to get second place. And then once we got that second place and we guaranteed our spot into the Canadian finals, we kind of just grinded really hard and made sure that we were going to win because we were pretty confident that we could beat Mirage. It would just take time, and we grinded it out, and it would happen.
Well, obviously, the loss of SI right now sucks, and we don't know what's going to happen with that in the future when it's coming back. But how did you guys prep to go up against basically the heaviest hitters of the entire global competition? And also, were there any teams that you were particularly excited about facing? Because this was you guys' first global competition.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely a little disappointed that it's being delayed. I mean, overall, we were kind of just I mean, pretty excited to play anybody because like playing anybody is seen as like at SI would be considered like a really big step for us because we personally believe that we could do really well. I mean, some teams that we would really like to play against is OXG, TSM, SSG, just to prove that we belong. Because there was a lot of people saying that we just don't belong at SI and we're not going to do anything. Personally, I really disagree, and I think we would have had a really good chance of making top 4 in our group. I mean, that might be a bit optimistic, but I think it definitely could happen. So, I mean, we're just disappointed we can't go prove ourselves right away. But obviously, with it being delayed, hopefully we can fix that soon.
I like that you say, I think we deserve to be at SI as if you didn't literally qualify for it.
Well, we deserve it, but there's a lot of people, like, especially in NA, that are saying, like, oh, Altiora doesn't belong. I mean, they're not good enough. So, I mean, there's a lot of people that doubt us. But, I mean, there were people that doubted us against Mirage, against Rent Free, against Beast Coast. And, I mean, we won every time, so.
What does SI mean to you?
I mean, it means everything, right? Like, every professional or, like, competitive player dreams of going to SI. I mean, it's, like, a super tough competition to get into. So it means a lot. Like, all of us worked super hard. At the start of the season, like when I first came onto the team, I mean, we were asked like what our goals were, and our first goal was to win the Canadian division. Our second goal was to qualify for SI, and our third goal was to go win an event. So, I mean, we've completed 2/3 of the goals so far. So now we just got to complete the third.
Now, you say that you've been to every other SI. What is your favorite memory of the Six Invitational?
Okay, so for the Six Invitational, it was the 2017 Invitational. It was like the first event I ever went to. I was like 13 at the time. I was a super big fan of Canadian, and me and my mom went to like a cafe kind of thing after one of their games, and I was sitting down and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if like TSM or not TSM, CTM walked in and like I could take a photo or whatever. And just as we were about to leave the restaurant, CTM walked in. I was like, oh my god, that's CTM. And I was kind of freaking out a little bit, and then I got a picture with them, which was super cool. I mean, that was a really good memory for me. I mean, I even posted it after we qualified for this SI on my Twitter. So
it's crazy how you bring that as your memory, and now you're about to you're about to challenge SSG for the world championship. How does that feel?
I mean, it's such a surreal feeling. Like, I mean, nothing can prepare you for it. Like, I mean, all these years have been leading up to this. Like every time I go to the event, I'm like, man, I really want to play at this thing. Like I love like the atmosphere. I love playing the game, and like I really want to play. And now it's like, wow, it's gonna happen. So I mean, it's just a surreal experience.
Well, obviously there are going to be a lot of people who are really rooting for your team, really big fans for Altiora, who don't get to see you play. So what would you say to those fans and to the community who have you guys' back?
I mean, just like to thank everybody for the support. Even though like SI isn't happening right now, I mean, we're still getting a lot of support from everyone, so we really appreciate that, and we hear everybody that supports us. And I mean, it means a lot to us.
Alright, well, you're not actually competing in the Six Invitational, but you know many people who are, so would you like to lay in some shit talk, or maybe some support for the Canadian team, or any of the other teams, I suppose? Go and give people some hell.
I gotta give a shout out to the fellow Canadian team. What's it? Sorry Squad? Nice. Pretty fitting name, I suppose, for the Canadians. So hopefully they go out there and, you know, prove Canada well, and show everybody what the maple syrups are made of. There are some American teams out there, and one thing that like every Canadian will tell you is we don't lose to Americans. We hate losing to Americans. So hopefully, you know, the Sorry Squad can go prove themselves against the Americans, and make sure we keep that from not happening. Because I mean, that's the worst, losing to Americans. Like that's just it's kicking the ass. So hopefully we can, you know, go smoke them.